Yes. Now we are good to go.
It's a new day.
It's a new day.
I've got
and it all feels...
And it all feels what?
I forgot the line.
It's a new day.
Uh-huh.
I've got my hat on backwards.
You got your hat on backwards.
I'm drinking LaCroix.
LaCroix.
With a metal straw on the inside.
Oh, that's going to be pinging like...
Which, as per the episode, in this season, entitled Robots versus Wrestlers, I would say is Ted Mosby level pretentious.
You think drinking LaCroix...
Drinking LaCroix!
LaCroix.
The flavor, by the way, is Pina Fraise. This fucking Portuguese. Fraise.
No, it's French.
Oh, I don't speak French. But it's got a tilde.
Yeah.
So maybe it's just a pina. French doesn't use the tilde.
No, but I think Pina
is Spanish.
Is Spanish.
Fraise is French.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, that's pretentious.
That is pretty fucking pretentious.
I'm being Ted Mosby, and it is How I Met Your Mother, Season 5.
Season 5.
We
are officially over the hump.
Over the hump. The last of the mid-stretch of seasons, in my opinion.
Oh.
And I'm Thano.
I'm Javier.
And it is How I Met Your Mother in the Summer.
How I Met Your Mother Summer.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, like we said, we are going to be talking about Season 5. A season that initially I remember being more busy.
Yes.
But then upon further inspection a few minutes ago.
Yeah.
A few days ago.
A few days ago.
I realized, maybe not.
Exactly. As we were counting all our millions of fans, we were taking our notes for this show. That took days and days in between episodes.
Days upon days.
And then as we're looking at our notes, not as eventful as we perhaps thought.
Which is funny because, like we said, you rank this as your highest.
I rank this as my highest.
I rank this as my number 3.
We'll see if this changes. But in the meantime, we're going to look as usual at our character arcs for this episode, where we begin, where we end, highlights in the middle. But today, I think our final segment is going to take a greater chunk of time than usual.
A little bit.
Because we actually have our first tier list.
Yeah, which is really funny because that was our
initial strategy.
idea. We were like, it's going to be all tier lists.
Yeah, but then tier lists proved to be impractical, except for a list of Barney's plays.
Today we are doing our list of the playbook plays that we see in the show.
Correct.
Because there's over 100 plays in the playbook.
Yes.
And boy, oh boy, are some of them doozies.
Should we start talking about Barney in season 5 then, since this might be a Barney centric episode?
This is Barney season. I feel like this is a Barney and Robin season, primarily focused on Barney. This is the season where we get his first legitimate relationship.
Starting with Robin. So yeah, I think we should talk about Barney and then Robin, and then we can move to the gang and then return to Barney. But one thing I'm noticing is that all of the individuals that Barney and Robin date, apart from themselves and Ted, are all like stand-up fellas. Kind of. We'll see when we get to Robin, because her first relationship after Barney begins and ends in this season. Yes. And when I say date, I mean like not just one-offs.
Yeah.
Like they're long-term boyfriends or girlfriends. But we begin this season with definitions. So Barney and Robin kind of started dating last season. We mentioned that at the end of the recording. But in secret,
yes. Nobody knows. But I mean, it's this group
in secret, just like how the Greeks had to go to school in secret because the Turks would not let them go to school. So we find out that they are officially an item, and I put a little asterisk next to that in this first episode of the season, because they have not fully defined for themselves.
Yeah, they haven't.
They are an item or not.
They haven't defined their relationship.
Yeah.
So it's funny because this is a very. So I know I said this is not my favorite season or anything, right? But I do think that this show also does teach you some very important lessons.
For sure.
And I think defining the relationship
is an important lesson.
It's an important lesson.
Yeah.
So the whole point of this episode is they're trying to put an actual label. Are they just having fun?
Yeah.
Or are they boyfriend and girlfriend?
Yeah.
Lily and Marshall, from the very beginning, they know you guys are trying to be dating. You guys are trying to be boyfriend girlfriend. But Barney and Robin are both too.
They're not emotionally there yet.
Yes.
To put a label on that.
Exactly.
Which is interesting because, like I said, going back to season 1, I feel like you can find roots that show that they are both actually very compatible with each other.
Yeah.
And maybe my definition of compatible just means similar, which doesn't necessarily mean compatible. Mm-hmm. And this leads to some people kind of being frustrated with the fact that they end up divorced, by the end of the show. Mm-hmm. But at least in this episode, you can tell that they have a similar emotional immaturity.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we've gotten a lot of Barney Robin interactions where you see how good they would be together.
Right.
Starting all the way in season 1.
Yeah.
Where they go and play laser
Scotch
tag.
and cigars. Yeah.
Scotch and cigars. But they want to kind of put... Again, Marshall and Lily want the relationship to be fully defined before they move on.
Right.
If they are going to be dating, then they should be dating. If they are not going to be dating, is this going to be something that puts the group in jeopardy?
And they are locked in a room.
They are locked in the room. One of the funniest things in this episode is they talk about how Barney defines a girlfriend.
Yeah.
Because everybody has different definitions of what a girlfriend and boyfriend relationship is, right?
Yes.
I feel like a lot of them are very broad and very, socially agreed upon.
Yeah.
But these are people who are not.
It's interesting.
It's a TV show, right?
It is a TV show, but I think it brings up an interesting point because I have
Go on.
2 people who I'm close with, who I can think of right now. Both male, who are very, very, logic-driven people. And sometimes I'll see these people going through, emotional crises. And I'll listen, and my advice will be, hey, man, sometimes this is the way it is. You can't, not everything is logical. And this, this puzzles them. And I think that this is kind of an example of what that is because... now that I start to think about it, I'm I don't know what my definition of a boyfriend and a girlfriend is. You know it when you see it.
Yeah.
Right?
So,
but it's kind of a spectrum.
Yeah, so Barney has a definition of what a girlfriend is. Mm-hmm. And he uses one of my favorite movies of all time, one of my favorite creatures of all time, the Gremlins.
The Gremlins.
He says the rules for girls are the same as the rules for gremlins. Rule number 1, never get them wet. In other words, don't let them take a shower at your place. Number 2, keep them away from sunlight. Don't ever see them during the day.
Yeah.
And rule number 3, never feed them after midnight, meaning she doesn't sleep over and you don't have breakfast with her ever.
So once again, Barney understands his life through 80s movies.
Yes.
Yes.
Which, I feel like, yeah. These are the things that you do with a girlfriend.
Yeah.
You don't just see them at a party. You see them at a date during the day. You go to brunch, go to lunch or whatever. They stay over at your place.
Yeah.
This is not just a booty call where they come over and then they bang and they leave.
Yep.
They are there. As immature as this is.
It's the power of metaphor.
It works.
It's the power of storytelling. Absolutely.
And just for our listeners, it's a crime that we haven't gotten Gremlins 3.
A crime!
It's a crime.
Yes.
It's a crime. But so that kind of does lead Barney to kind of start questioning his own ideals.
Yes.
Is Robin, by my own definition, my girlfriend?
Right.
And so we do end this episode with them being
boyfriend and girlfriend.
Boyfriend and girlfriend. They think they're pulling a fast one on the group.
Right,
but even Lily is like...
But the fast one was the lesson we learned along the way.
The fast one was the lesson we learned along the way.
AKA they pulled the fast one on themselves.
Yeah. So we do see them being together. We see the most effort Barney's put into keeping a girl.
Yes.
In a long stretch. I mean,
he takes
for the first time.
He takes classes.
He takes a class on Robin,
which is also growth for Ted, because he has to teach those classes.
He does.
He goes to Canada.
Yep, he goes to Canada for her. He chases Robin to Canada.
Yeah.
Robin 101 is one of my favorite episodes. Yeah. I rank that as an S tier episode.
It's a fun concept.
Yes.
And interestingly, this might come back later. So millions of fans. One of our lists in a future episode is just a scumbag gang. A scumbag gang.
Is it? I don't remember.
Yeah, it is. They are not a fan of Ted teaching. That is seen by the other characters as kind of a scumbag move on Barney and Ted's part.
Someone, I can't remember who it is. Someone says
Robin doesn't like it.
Robin hates it.
Yeah.
But someone says, it's kind of sweet that he knows so much about you.
Yeah.
And I want to say it might be Lily or Marshall.
Yeah.
But it is a way to kind of show that, like, Barney wants to put in the effort. Relationships are hard. I think one of the things people misunderstand about relationships is they are work.
Yes.
And I know they say, like, oh, if a relationship is good, it doesn't feel like work. It doesn't feel like work, but it's still work.
There's the whole... I fucking hate when people... I'm a teacher by trade, right? I used to teach Sunday school.
Sure.
And I stopped because I was like, I'm making lesson plans on fucking Saturday. I'm teaching on Sunday morning, then just going back home to have the Sunday scaries and prepare for the week.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Like I can't be teachers 7 days a week.
Yeah,
right?
no, fucking sucks.
And then actually one of the people I was talking about earlier mentioned this to me. He was like, "Oh, but if you love your whatever, shouldn't it not feel like work?"
Nope.
And I'm like, that is not true.
That is not.
The cliche of, like, if you love what you do, you will never work a day in your life is flat out bullshit. And relationships are work. In fact, the Greek word for spouse, zevgos, right?
Mm-hmm.
Actually comes from the thing that, like, they would put on oxen to keep them, like, yoked together.
It's same in Spanish.
Yep.
Esposa, esposo comes from the word of handcuffs.
Yeah.
You are tied to someone.
So the main thing that people look at that with that word is that, like, oh, one goes, the other one can't go far. And that's very much true, but also, like, oxen fucking pull shit. Mm-hmm. Right? They are beasts of burden. And, like, here, like, I enjoy the work that I put into my relationship, but I know that, like, oh, I'm gonna be on the phone with my girlfriend today and every day. And that's at least, especially if multiple phone calls a day, that's at least an hour.
Yeah. Right?
Like, you're asleep for 8, you've got 16 left, right?
How much of that is work?
Yeah, and that's time, right? That's time that you're spending.
Yeah, and it, but again, I feel like, Barney as much of a people love to hate on Barney sometimes.
Yeah.
And he is kind of a dick.
Yeah. As we'll explore.
I also feel like this again shows just how loyal he can be.
Yeah.
When he sets his mind to it.
Yeah.
He doesn't want Robin to break up with him. He doesn't want to disappoint her.
Yeah.
So he wants to find a way to get to know her without explicitly saying, hey, I don't know you super well.
I am sure somebody's had to have written some sort of essay on Barney where they've explored the idea of him at least being bipolar. And I say this not being an expert in being bipolar, nor that he would actually exhibit those specific traits, but like he does very much vacillate from like one extreme to the other. He can be very loyal while also being like the scumbag playboy. Yeah. And in fact, on this arc, they break up in episode number. Episode number 7. The next episode is the playbook.
Yeah.
Like they are.
That is his coping mechanism.
They are. Yeah, they are juxtaposed right together. And in fact, like that episode. So once again, the show is doing this like how we had Stella break up in the middle of season 4. You have this Barney Robin breakup in the middle of season 5. So I kind of like how these things happen in the middle. You can tell. So the show presents to you that there are signs that they're not good for each other.
Yeah.
Robin's disheveled. Barney's fat. The breakup happens, right? They kind of realize by themselves after like looking at a window in the reflection.
Yeah, seeing themselves.
Yeah, they're like, oh, we are not who we want to be. But like at the end of that episode, like he walks into the bar, he's suave and handsome again, and he says, "Daddy's home," right?
Yeah.
Like, yeah. So I mean, he just goes straight back to Barney, and I guess I have a question for you. Do you see this as a frustrating reversion, or as something else?
So, as someone who is this is me analyzing Barney, right? As someone who is as emotionally stunted as Barney is, I don't think we've ever been shown him to be anything but that.
Yeah,
it makes perfect sense.
Except in the moments where he's very loyal. Right?
Yes.
Yeah.
But even then, we mentioned how his view of like fixing things can be very childish.
Yep.
Right. We just talked about that a couple episodes ago. To me, it makes sense that he sees this as, well, it didn't work. I gotta go back to how things were because that's where I feel safe.
Yeah.
And throughout the whole of the playbook, that whole episode, Lily is like, you are spiraling, you are doing this as a cry for help,
right? Which
he absolutely is.
Yeah.
But it's all he knows how to do. Like, we talked about how Loretta seems to have gotten her shit together,
right?
But we don't know what gets her to do that.
Yeah. And
for Barney, it doesn't happen until he has a kid.
And this is, also the Nothing Suits Me Like a Suit season.
Yeah.
Right? Which, you could just very well write off the appeal of that episode as the fun musical number. But it's interesting, like, it's this hierarchy at this point of his life of, like, committed relationship, bimbos, right?
Yeah, bimbos.
And then suits, which is his appearance, right? And this is what wins, right? Like, he's like, I'm loyal to Suits. I'm loyal to my appearance and the persona I put on for myself.
Yeah.
So, it is kind of emotional stunting, as you said, but that's just the notch. I don't even want to call it a rut. That's just like the notch that he's at in life right now.
And like we said, that's where he feels happy, I think.
Yeah.
He may not actually be, but that's what his idea of happy is. His idea of happy is banging a new chick every other night.
Yeah.
Working at a corporate job that pays you lots of money.
Right.
Even if you're doing awful, horrible things.
Yes.
Please. Yeah, exactly. Right? And I mean, to the extent of Barney's growth, I mean, that's about it for him.
Well, so this pulls Lily and Marshall into the mix.
Yes.
But they have the doppelganger, promise, that they won't. They'll know that it's time for them to have a baby when the universe tells them that they've found all 5 doppelgangers. Barney ends up being the last one, that they see. They don't meet his real doppelganger in this season.
Next season,
they meet Barney posing as a doppelganger, which that was even growth for him because he was like, "Oh no, having kids will ruin your life."
Yes,
blah, blah, blah. But like, it's a cool juxtaposition because while he is still in his own like shallow rut, like I think it's incredible growth to show for him that not only is he accepting with the fact that like he wants Lily and Marshall to have a kid, but to the point where he'll take his own ruses and then he'll apply them to sort of like he'll be the universe. He'll kind of like push that into action.
Now, correct me if I'm wrong though. I don't think he does it on purpose.
The doppelganger, yeah, he does.
Does he?
Yeah, because
I know one of them is not for sure.
When he's juggling as a street performer at the end, they're like, "Oh, Barney is like, who is this Bonnie of which you see?"
Yeah.
So he knows.
You're right.
Yeah. So it's kind of cool, and I guess it kind of shows that growth happens in more ways than one. You could be stagnant in certain elements of your life while progressing in other elements of your life.
Yeah, that's fair.
So Barney was more interesting than I thought he was.
Barney is a very interesting character. So then that leads us to Robin. Because they kind of go hand in hand in the season.
Yeah.
What do you remember about Robin in this season?
So starts with Barney. Summer fling type vibe. Can't define the relationship. Spirals break up. Dawn.
Dawn is the biggest.
Dawn and career are here. And then it's interesting. Dawn is introduced, but then he doesn't actually come in for a couple of episodes after his introduction. I forget exactly what the timeline of episodes is.
Yeah, so they... in the episode after they get separated, they talk about how now that Robin's like, I'm going to focus on my career. Love is not for me. They go, you're gonna meet someone.
Yep.
And they introduce Dawn.
Right.
But you don't actually get to see Dawn until at least Rabbit or Duck.
And then it's not until then that you also realize that Dawn is just like jaded and lethargic and like unmotivated. Like for him, the job is very much just a paycheck, but he doesn't wear his pants to work, right? Yeah. And Robin is very driven, and it's ironically Robin the one who kind of like pushes Dawn to step it up.
Yes. So I think there's a theme for Dawn where it's also a relationship that kind of ruined him.
Yeah.
There's a whole thing with the twin beds, that episode.
Yep.
Where we discover that, him and his wife
had been sleeping in
twin beds. They seemed like, hey, this is a good idea.
And that was the harbinger of the end.
Yeah, but then also she was cheating on him with her yoga instructor, some bullshit like that, right? And then that's kind of where you start to see he just stopped caring.
Yeah.
And he stopped caring about his work.
Yeah.
Started wearing undies.
Yep.
To work and all that stuff. And then Robin is kind of like the opposite.
Robin's be a professional.
Not just that, but also with, as far as how relationships ended.
Right.
Robin's relationship with Barney ends, and while Barney throws himself into girls to make himself feel better, Robin throws herself into work.
Correct.
So there's 3 different ways of handling a breakup in the season.
Yeah.
Which, again, does not necessarily mean it's an interesting or a bad season.
Right.
But it's still, it's something that I still appreciate about this season. There is a theme in this season, which is getting over a breakup.
For sure.
In different ways.
Is there any big thing to say about Robin before we look at the finale of the season with Chicago or no?
Well, so here we start to see that she was ready to move on pretty quick-ish.
Yeah.
I mean, they get separated in season 7.
Yeah.
and episode 7, and by episode 15, she's already like, maybe I could see myself being with Don.
Right.
So, you know, showing some maturity, not getting super hung up on the breakup. You know, things happen.
Yeah, and so being able to sort of like make, and I want to preface this by saying that like there is no, when it comes to her getting the offer to move to Chicago, which everybody gets offered to. Ted.
Yeah, Chicago's a harbinger of doom.
Chicago. Hey man.
Apparently. Hey
man. But she gets offered to move to Chicago, and she has this choice: do I stay here with? It's not. I forget how much she takes the friends into consideration, and I'm not saying she should have, but I forget if it's framed as a choice between Don or career, or Don and friends or career.
So
I think it's Don versus career.
It's Don versus career.
Right.
Because there is a quote where they call her out.
Yeah.
She says, "Oh, you know, it's the classic Sherbatsky, you know, issue of between love and career."
Yeah.
And I'm pretty sure it's Ted who's like, "Don't give me that bullshit."
Yeah.
And like, oh, here it is. It says, "Never-ending battle. Career has been trouncing romance for years. It's like the Globetrotters versus the Generals.
Yeah.
Career sinking hook shots from half court.
Yeah.
Romance is just a bunch of slow white guys who couldn't make it into the Italian league."
Yeah.
So this is the first time where she's considering putting her romance, her love life ahead of her career.
And once again, it's not that romance was the correct choice, but it's more that she's at least open to the options.
Yes.
Right.
So this goes with what we mentioned, that all of these characters, while they change, they still stay true to themselves.
Yeah.
I feel like 5 seasons into the show, it does make sense for Robin to maybe go,
yeah,
I could see myself settling down with Don in exchange for this big career move.
Yeah. And if taking the leap is the theme of last season, I think this season is the progression of that, and maybe the theme is like, bless you, in advance, and then retroactively.
I was trying to be quiet, man.
Ladies and gentlemen and non-binary folk, like in art, no one ever poops, no one ever sneezes, right? This is reality. We are creatures of the flesh. Maybe the theme for this season is like flexibility, right? Where Robin has to grapple with the fact that like, oh, I have these 2 choices, I can entertain both of them. Marshall and Lily are waiting for the universe to like, you know, give them the sign to have the baby, but Barney is the one who has to kind of like, you know, poke and prod the universe to do what it wants to do. So centering on Robin then and bringing it back to her, she chooses Dawn. So relationships, the generals win. But then she rejects Chicago formally, and then Don takes
the job
in Chicago, which I know we began this episode with saying that their main squeezes post each other have all been, you know, decent, likable people. I simultaneously find Don likable, and I simultaneously also feel like, man, fuck Don.
It's interesting that you feel like fuck Don.
Yeah.
Because you didn't say fuck Stella.
I thought I did say fuck
I don't think so. You were kind of like, Stella was never serious.
No, I hate Stella more than I hate Zoe, remember? But not just for the altered thing. I hate Stella because I just don't think that like she and Ted are. I think Stella's peak settle for this woman. But not. Yeah.
Okay. But to that degree, I also feel like it does make sense for Stella and Jesus Christ, for Robin and Don to have that short relationship, because I mean it starts like a work romance.
Yeah.
And it's not until like episode 21 where they're actually like dating.
Yeah.
There really isn't. Episode 17,
It's short-lived.
Robin has feelings for Don.
Yeah.
They're together
for
less than a quarter of a season.
It's short-lived. I mean, I didn't realize until I rewatched that it was shorter than her therapist boyfriend.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so then to me it does make sense. Like if you're Don, someone who, yes, maybe you started this new relationship, but the person that you are with is telling you like, hey, you need to start taking your shit more seriously.
Yeah.
And you get offered this chance, it makes sense why he would take it.
And he's being flexible. Right? Like,
yeah.
He's not letting himself fall into a rut. And I get it. And like I said, I don't think Don made the wrong choice per se. But like I think of all the sad breakups that this show offers, I think honestly this one makes me
the most upset.
And it's not that they needed to be together. It's just like that really, to literally make the move where you're going to make this choice for him.
Yeah.
And then he takes the same choice after you built him up, right?
Yeah.
That hurts.
It does. I guess. Yeah.
Yeah. So poor Robin.
Yeah.
So she kind of ends.
She ends in a low point.
The season at a low point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't think in the episode she lets her actual emotions show. Is this the episode where Barney and Ted, where they convince Ted to dye his hair?
I do not remember, but I know that the episode where Robin calls Dawn angrily is in season 6.
Yes.
Yes.
Where she leaves him with very angry voice. So like, hey, I'm gonna go and I'm gonna kill
you. Yeah, exactly.
But this, it shows that she's probably not gonna be super okay with it.
Right.
It's not until later that we see just how bad she is about this breakup.
Yeah.
That's a next season Robin issue, though.
Yeah.
So other than that, that's them.
Right.
I think. We kind of discussed a little bit about Marshall and Lily.
Yeah, but there's still some more. So there's the trip to Chicago, right? Their whole big thing this year is we're getting ready to have a kid.
Yes.
Right. And the trip to Chicago is when Ted and Marshall go get pizza.
Yeah.
Not Pasquale's.
Not Pasquale's.
What's it called?
What episode is this? I can't remember.
I will look it up and I'll try to talk about it in the meantime. They go to get pizza at this place that they like that will give you food poisoning. And it's supposed to be dual citizenship. Okay.
Oh, is it dual citizenship?
Yeah, that's a busy episode.
Wow.
Only rated. This is U.S. viewers. Never mind. Chicago was a bro tradition for Marshall and Ted.
Mm-hmm.
That Lily encroaches on.
Yeah.
Right. And this is all happening while they're more seriously entertaining the prospect of childhood. So it's life moving on and that kind of encroaching on Ted's status quo.
Yeah.
I think that if we're going to look at where, if at all, Marshall and Lily have an arc this season, because I don't think much career change happened with them.
I don't think there's any career change at all in this season, right?
We meet Lily's dad.
We do meet Lily's dad.
But then rewinding a bit, them having to reconcile with their identity as husband and wife and potential parents versus their identity as part of the gang.
Yeah.
And how those will inevitably clash with each other.
Yeah, because there's a whole kind of subplot in that episode. The subplot of a subplot, right?
Yeah.
With Ted kind of coming to the realization that when Lily and Marshall have a kid, where does he fit in that dynamic?
Right.
And like we just talked about previously, when you have a kid,
yeah,
unfortunately, sometimes that puts strains on relationships because you got to put the kid, ahead.
Well, and what's interesting is that in season 4 we talked about how there's that tease that the group is going to be broken up with the move to Japan and them trying to move out of the apartment. And then when we jump to the ending, right, we do know that the group is not hanging out on the daily like they used to, right?
Yes.
They've moved into different places. There's that cutaway where with the Mike Tyson cameo, where Lily and Robin are having wine, and then over years she reveals the story of what happened to baby Marvin that day. But it's implied that because they keep on saying like, oh, we have to do this more often, meaning that like, it's not that they're estranged by any means, but they're not like they're not with each other constantly.
Yeah, and It'd be how it be.
It'd be how it be, and then when you step back and look at this episode, you're like, oh yeah, this relationship of friends is not going to disintegrate, but it is.
It is going to change.
It's going to change, and if you look at Robin's cameo in How I Met Your Father, right, that one implies that they're also not seeing each other regularly. I forget how they happen about McLaren's, but it's somewhere that she's like, oh, I used to come here a lot with my friends.
She is there because she has she's doing some sort of work there in the city.
Yeah.
And she's like, hey, I used to go here. I'm going to go check it out again.
And who lives upstairs again?
Sophie.
No, she doesn't.
No, not Sophie.
Yeah. The dude.
The dude.
And the other, the bar owner. The people whose names we can't remember.
You know what the sad thing is?
Yeah.
The sad thing is I watched that show more recently than I watched half of this show.
Yeah.
And I still remember this show way more.
Yeah. I still can't remember Francia Rice's name, and she's my favorite character.
Oh, Jesus.
Yeah.
Valentina?
There you go.
I just remember because it's a hot sauce.
That's true.
Yeah.
But so focusing, like I said, when you see the show in its entirety, like, oh yes, this is Ted's fears are at least half legitimate.
Yeah.
Not that the relationship will blow up, but the relationship will change, and we don't see that happen, up until the show's very, very, very end. But it is something that happens.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it sucks for someone like Ted who, we never really see them hang out with other people.
Yeah.
Very rarely. I think season 1 we have Marshall and Lily try to branch out.
Yeah.
With her work friends.
Claudia and Stuart are implied to be if they're the innermost circle of friends, then when we meet Claudia and Stuart, they're kind of implied to be on that next ring. But
they're not friends that they would hang out with even I would say they would hang out with them maybe every few years.
And we see them at the intervention, right? We hear
they
about them a little bit.
They invite them. That was last season,
right? But we don't see any other regular.
Are they
mainstays.
in Robin and Barney's wedding?
I think so.
I
think Stuart is. I don't remember for sure.
Maybe.
And I forget if they get divorced or not.
Oh, you know what? They do come back in the episode where they're deciding on the baby name.
Yeah. Yeah.
So they're at least together at least that long.
Exactly. I know we mentioned the twin beds episode in its relationship to Robin and Don, but then the fear of drifting apart because of the twin beds and just general. Because the twin beds aren't just twin beds; they represent getting older. You're not as vivacious as you used to be, right? That fear definitely encroaches in on Marshall and Lily, right?
Yeah.
And it's it's not something. It's obviously something they overcome within the episode, right? But they, despite the fact that they never have true potentially relationship ending trauma throughout the show after season 2.
No.
I think they just kind of have to. They have to sort of just kind of reconcile with becoming older.
Yeah.
Yeah. Not young adults. Adults.
Yeah, like actual
right
grown ass people.
Yeah.
For better or worse, right?
Yeah.
Anything else on Marshall and Lily?
No, I think we got to do Ted. Right?
Yeah, I know the only thing. Jenkins. This is the episode. This is Snow Jenkins.
Yeah.
That is the only bit of like that type of drama, like infidelity drama that we get, and honestly, that's fine.
Right.
Like I'm perfectly okay with just that being the only
even
hint.
Yeah.
Of anything
quickly
like that.
Quickly squashed any danger was.
Yeah.
From that.
But Marshall does have my favorite like scene in this season and probably the show with the monkey, where he gets mugged by the monkey, but then he doesn't
tell anybody.
He doesn't tell anybody. It's fucking embarrassing. Yeah. And then he's gonna separate the monkey.
Yeah.
I forgot the names of the monkeys.
I don't remember.
But then they have the whole thing where like it plays the entertainer and the monkey has a banana on a string, and then he's like, "Stick them up." I don't know. It's so fucking stupid, but it's so fucking funny.
Yeah.
And we are done with Marshall and Lily, I think, at this point.
You mean in the season, or you mean like in the show?
For us.
Yeah.
Right? I don't think there's really a lot
more.
Anything else that we've covered, I think we've covered.
Yeah.
Ted does kind of go through some stuff in this season.
Yeah, so Ted, I don't know to what extent Ted would say this was a good year for me, but I would go in hindsight and say that this was a good year for Ted.
It was a solid year for Ted.
Yeah. He's teaching.
He's teaching. He's not doing what he saw himself doing.
Right.
But this is as close as he gets to the mother since the beginning of the season.
So this is, I forget what season the St. Patrick's Day party is.
Season 3. Season as Stella.
Right, so they were in the same
party.
Yellow Umbrella is introduced there.
Mm-hmm.
He leaves it at Cindy's apartment.
Yep.
Which is the mother's apartment.
Yeah, so as he is teaching his architecture class.
Yeah. You find out that she was in that class?
You find out... Well, no.
Right. Well,
he was in the wrong class.
He was in the wrong class.
Yeah, so he shows up to teach architecture.
Oh, and I frequently... It's funny. So I forget if professor is... It might be the word professor.
Prof.
Well, that's what Ted does, but I've had similar moments where I can't spell anything in class.
It fucking sucks.
And then I'll do the thing with my students, and I'll be like, "Is this right?" And they'll be like, "Yeah." But here's the thing about Gen Z. Gen Z has trouble spelling.
Yeah.
So we both lack a little confidence in the execution.
Double S.
But I'll ask them, like, how many of you have seen How I Met Your Mother? And then it gets smaller and smaller every year.
Which is sad.
Yeah, but they'll be like, "Oh, professor?" And I'm like, "Yes."
Yeah.
So the youth gets this reference.
It's a good reference.
It's solid. Very relatable. Very, very relatable.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
So this is the season. So we mentioned he meets Cindy. He goes on a date with her.
Yes.
I can't remember how early in that episode we are told that she is not the mother.
I also don't remember. It's the first thing that is in her apartment. That's the roommates that Ted likes. So it's before they enter the bedroom. But Ted sees something and she's like, "Oh, that's my
roommates."
That's my roommates, exactly. Yeah. And then everything that Ted likes is her roommates.
The roommates,
which bothers Cindy.
Which
sadly, and then she gives him an unceremonious get out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which I mean I get.
Yeah.
But at the same time,
but Cindy was going through her own stuff, as we'll find out. As we'll find out later when she returns.
Also, like, hey, maybe be more fun.
Oh, maybe. Maybe be more fun.
Maybe be more fun.
Yeah.
But so that's as close as we get to the mother.
Correct.
Right. We see her foot.
But we see her foot. But I mean, in terms of just like, I mean, put yourself back when you first saw this. Like, it's such an anticipating building tease. Mm-hmm. Like, the excitement that you kind of feel throughout the rest of the show is, I think, turned up to like a 10 at this little moment, because you know that like she's got to be close.
Yes.
Right, and it's almost knocking on the door of the show's end game, where you're like, all right, if we've seen her foot, then that means that like, you know, we've got to be building to something.
Which is funny that you mentioned that, because isn't season 6 where we start to see the wedding?
I was literally not about to say it because I've said it too much, but I was about to say that's why I separate these in arcs of seasons, where I put 3, 4, and 5 together. 6, 7, 8, and 9 are framed by the wedding, but you know, you can't get much closer to the mother than the day where you actually meet her, right?
Yes.
So that's, you know, and Endgame is being teased. Endgame starts for me at season 6.
Yes.
So that's exciting for Ted. He buys a house in this season.
Yeah, he has his freak out when Virginia gets married.
Yeah. But this is also rewinding one of the first episodes, Double Date. So episode 2.
Yeah.
Is when he goes on a date with a woman
who he dated before.
Yes, twice.
I
think I have matched in my former life. I think I have matched with the same girl on Tinder twice.
Interesting.
And I think it was within a day that I kind of realized that this was familiar. It didn't move past texting each time.
Did she realize? Was she like, huh?
I think I realized it first. I don't remember if I mentioned it to her.
Okay, that was my next
or
question.
not. I do not remember if I mentioned it to her, but I'm almost positive I've matched a girl on Tinder twice.
Interesting.
And gotten her to text back. So, you know, there you go. But that's kind of, it's to me, that's a kind of a sobering episode, because while you have this good career shift for Ted, you also have, this episode is kind of being the sign that at least his love life feels cyclical. Stagnant and cyclical.
Yeah, he needs something different.
Yeah.
And this is where we, like you mentioned, we meet stripper Lily, which is the introduction to the doppelganger. So it's a good episode. I love the stripper Lily becomes a recurring character later on. Yeah. Which is
I forget her name. I think she has a name.
Isn't it Nadia?
Yeah.
Or something like that.
Yeah, something like that.
She's Russian.
She's Russian. Yeah. Yeah, so her mom gets married. His mom gets married. He buys the house. He kind of has that little,
like a bit of a mental, like emotional breakdown,
quarter life crisis. We do find out that is the house. That is the house, right?
Yes.
That is in the
in the background
in all the flash forwards. So once again, like, yes, you're seeing
Jasmine. Not even close to Russian.
Not even close to Russian. But it's a stripper name.
It's an absolute stripper name.
But going back to Ted, at least him buying the house does kind of show that in stagnancy sometimes, you know, it's a lateral move, right? Mm-hmm. You know, he kind of bought the house as a future investment. He bought it still feeling that his love life is going nowhere, but, you know, lo and behold, it does pay off dividends eventually, as being his future house. In terms of Ted at the end, actually, that it surprised me in my rewatch. The robots versus wrestlers episode was a bit more important to Ted than I initially thought it was. I kind of wrote that off as like a gag episode.
Okay.
But this is, so towards the end of the show, there's a fancy hoity-toity party, right? That is pure Ted. Oh, that's one of that's my favorites. What's not a cold opening, but what is
It's like almost like an epilogue almost.
Yeah, an epilogue. Willem
Dafoe.
Willem Dafoe. Yeah. Where I look at this episode and I kind of go, you might disagree with me.
Go on.
I go scumbag gang except for Ted. Ted wants to go to his pretentious party.
Uh-huh.
He recites his dumbass poetry. The gang is like, this party fucking sucks.
I mean, yes.
They're
not wrong.
Yes, but I think, we brought up these, like, circles of friends and how we never really, like, see them, spring out. I think Ted deserves to have his time to, be himself at this pretentious ass party. And then his friends can go to Robots versus Wrestlers.
So this is the idea, right? Yeah. That, like, not necessarily that you outgrow your friends, but that sometimes you need to branch out.
Yeah.
I think I can't remember if it's in season 6 or season 7 where I think it's Hurricane Sandy hits, and they're stuck in Barney's apartment.
Yeah.
And he says, guys, I have a confession. I wish I had branched out more and made new friends in my 20s.
Yeah.
And something about that, like, hits very true.
Yeah.
Like, you have your core group, right? Like, we have our core group.
Right.
And I love our core group for the most part. For the most part.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
But there are some things that we just can't do with this group.
Yeah, for sure.
So I need to have
another group. And our core group was multiple groups that eventually came into being into one core group.
Yes.
Yeah.
But, like, I have, like, my D&D group.
Right.
Right? And you are part of a portion of that.
Yeah.
Right? You hang out with Dave and Andy. And
I play D&D with you every other Sunday.
Exactly.
I've got my Greek people.
You have your Greek friends.
We weeks ago when we had the 4th of July. Weeks ago.
Months even.
Yes. We sat in a circle, and it just so happened that partially part of the circle was all Greek people on one side, and then all the barbarians on the other side. And before you're like, Thano, that's racist, I will say the word barbarian just initially meant non-Greek speaking people.
Oh, you say we're the barbarians?
Yeah, no, but that's literally what it meant. So, like, the reason why they chose the word barbarian, this is some truly racist shit. So let me preface this. This is the equivalent of Donald Trump making fun of Asian-speaking people by going bing bong.
Bing bong bong.
Because the reason they use the word barbarian is because to the Greeks, everybody else's language sounded like people just going bar, bar, bar. So then they called them, this non-Greek speaking people were barbarians.
Interesting. You learn something new every day.
You do. So it was Greeks and barbarians on each side of the circle. Two different groups that were forced to interact.
And to go back to this episode and to this season, it makes sense. His core group is his core group.
Yeah.
But he could make friendships with someone.
Correct.
At this group too.
Yes.
And that's fine. And he realizes that maybe he has more fun
with his friends.
With his actual, close group friends.
And they are his most intimate, that is his core, right?
Yeah.
Let us not make a mistake.
Exactly.
But, circling back to this idea where if you look at the show in its entirety, once again, you see that the core group has changed by the show's end, then to me this episode makes a lot more sense.
Yes.
Because it's Ted entering that stage in life. And maybe why I initially ranked this as number 1. Listener, I'm going to be honest to you. I haven't gone back and listened to all of our old episodes in their entirety, so I don't know. You do because you edit them.
I do because I edit them.
Right. So I haven't done my proper homework. I need to go back and listen to episode 0 to see why I said this was my number 1.
Uh-huh.
I don't think it's still number 1 worthy, but I will say I appreciate this episode a lot more when I look back at this season a lot more, when I look back at the big picture in terms of where it fits into the overall arc of the show, and not just as an isolated season. Like right now, I would say that season 4 is probably my favorite season, but I think as a season itself, it just is it stands out. Season 5, I think, works as being one of the bigger parts of the machine, not just as an isolated season. For me.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I think that's a pretty good place to stop with where Ted is.
Yeah.
I don't think there's anything. Everything else after that is Barney, doppelganger stuff.
Yeah.
Lily and Marshall. The only thing that we get here is The Wedding Bride becoming the world's highest grossing movie of all time.
Yes.
It's basically just
Which
someone.
once again, scumbag Stella. Not that it's her husband doing this, not her. But I'm just like, fuck you.
Yeah.
Like I get it. It's your life. You got to tell the story of your life.
I guess, but it's not that interesting of a story.
No.
Like if someone said, "I'm gonna write a story with it," I'm like, dude, this is like not.
He should have changed the names more than he did.
I mean,
yes.
I guess unless you know the group intimately, you probably wouldn't guess.
Correct.
But we do get the introduction of one of our favorite quotes.
No can do'sville, baby doll.
No can do'sville, baby doll.
Which I actually use.
Oh yeah, it's a good one.
Yeah,
it's a good one.
Yeah.
So let's go ahead and do our tier list.
Our tier list.
So we're doing our first tier list. We're using our teacher skills.
Yes.
We are for the first time using our education
Jamboard
as a means.
As a means.
So here's how I do this, right? Yeah. So we have the Jamboard. Yeah. We will go through the list. Mm-hmm. I don't have them in any specific order other than the order in which I wrote them.
Yes. What is the list, by the way? Remind our viewers.
So yes, to our viewers, today we are going over a controversial topic.
Yes.
It is, we are ranking, we are using a tier list, so S tier being like, excellent. Classic, excellent, all the way down to D.
Yeah.
If you were in D, it's probably not a good play, maybe not functional.
Yeah. Not
memorable.
Yeah.
Maybe borderline illegal. I don't know.
Well, so let's should we have the serious part of the conversation first?
So let's have a slight serious before, because I don't think we want to end on.
No, we want to end on a happy note.
Right.
So I'll say, I will acknowledge simultaneously that the Barney character is problematic, the plays themselves are problematic, and I still find them funny. Right. And my pet peeve.
Both can be true.
Both can be true. My pet peeve is when people totally pivot into the only problematic category and they pretend that like there's no part of them that still finds this enjoyable or funny. Like I do find these enjoyable and funny.
We call those people too woke.
Now I think what was interesting. So we looked at tier list templates that already existed, right? Or you did.
I tried.
Yeah. The one that we found, I'll just read these out loud. So instead of S to D,
it's a nice one. It's a nice
one. So S tier, well here, D tier was actually okay. C tier was guys being guys. B tier was definitely canceled. A tier is really bad. And then S tier is like should be in jail, right? And obviously these are all tongue in cheek, but you're like, oh, with like all of these, how do you... Because they all rely so much on deception, how do you rank using that like criteria? And then from what you said, from like in terms of deciding what's you said D on the bottom, which could mean like probably really bad or something. I don't
know how we want to rank these necessarily.
But that's the thing. So you said like S is really good, D is really bad, but then it's like, oh, what
I mean, you might have some really bad one that's like just top.
Exactly, right? So, I did some research.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
I quickly Googled, what counts as consent, right? I went to Rain's website. It talks about how does it work, what is enthusiastic consent. It doesn't give a variation of enthusiastic consent. It just goes from enthusiastic consent to what enthusiastic consent looks like to what consent does not look like. And interestingly, in Rain's list of what consent does not look like, it says a refusing to acknowledge a no, a partner who is disengaged, non-responsive, or visibly upset. Disengaged might be I'll have to return to that one. Assuming that wearing certain clothes, flirting, or kissing is an invitation for anything more.
Wait, hold on. Read the disengaged one?
Yes. A partner who is disengaged, non-responsive, or visibly upset.
Those are all grouped together, right?
That's one bullet point. Yeah.
So I think by disengaged and non-responsive means like they are passed out.
But then visibly upset is in there.
That seems weird.
Right. So someone being under the legal age of consent.
Of course.
Someone being incapacitated, right? So that's its own separate category because of drugs or alcohol. pressuring someone into sexual activity by using fear or intimidation,
but not.
And then finally, assuming you have permission to engage in sexual act just because you've done it in the past. So I'm going to preface this. I'm going to sandwich it. I'm going to preface it. I'm going to make my point, and then I'm going to preface, and then I'm going to rephrase my preface or repeat my preface. I am not making this next point as a loophole. I noticed what is interesting is that none of these say deception, right? Now, I think there are some bullet points that you could maybe read deception into them, or you could say they fulfill the same spirit of deception. But I think why I bring this up as, once again, not a loophole is I think that, like, our relationship with sex, and then A, just casual hookup culture, but then B, also where, like, deception sort of, like, falls into it. I don't think as society we fully agree on, like, what's right or wrong with that, both in theory and in practice. So I mean, it's very common on a Tinder. This is played off this is played off for laughs. You can find many sketches which go and cover the scenario of someone having, like, a Tinder profile picture that is them from, like, years ago.
Yeah.
Or, like, just a fake picture, right? Yeah. And sexual activity might stop at that point, but then there's also the questions of, like, okay, to what extent is someone lying to you about who they are in order to get you to sleep with them, or withholding information, at least to what extent is that A, problematic, and then B, enter in the realm of, like, ooh, this is possibly criminal.
Yeah.
Right. And I don't know if I have an answer to that. I think some lawyer who could be hired as Barney's defense attorney, if rain was the legal criteria of what consent looked and did not look like, I think that a lawyer could look at this and they could say, like, oh, what Barney did is not technically criminal, right?
Yeah.
There was no, deception is not listed in one of these categories. I think another equally good lawyer could make the case that yes, Barney is, as Borat says, a sex criminal. So I don't have answers. I just think it's interesting to look at Barney's plays, which I legitimately do find very funny, and which I legitimately say make this show better and more enjoyable than the spinoff. Right, like we mentioned that point, the spinoff does not have a Barney character, and sometimes it's to its detriment, while also looking at context and saying, like, yeah, there's some cringe ground. Yeah. So I don't know. I'm not gonna pressure you to say anything about this, but is there anything you want to say about it, or do you want to just move on to the?
I think if we didn't know from the very beginning that this show was a straight comedy,
yeah,
I think you could start making the argument that there might be some seriously, like, morally corrupt,
right,
aspects of this. But I mean, the show plays a lot of things for laughs,
and yet the spinoff, which is also a straight comedy, has conscientiously made the choice to not have this character type.
Yes. Yeah. But also, I mean, you got to consider times is different.
For sure.
Times is very different.
For sure.
We live in a post-Me Too world.
Yeah.
And I know there was a big move during Me Too to, like, distance from the show because of Barney.
Right.
But, I mean, this is fiction.
Yeah.
So we can have fun.
We can have fun while also acknowledging that there's problems.
Exactly. So the way we are playing with this is we are just doing the plays that we see in the show being used.
Yeah.
So I don't know if you were able to pull up
I've got the playbook Jamboard out. I see they're all in, like, a pile.
They are. So here's how we're gonna do this. Right. We're gonna go through them.
Yep.
I will tell you what the play is.
Yeah.
What is the first play?
The I Have One Day to Live.
The I Have One Day to Live. Mm-hmm. That is a play that is introduced closer to the end of the show.
Yeah.
Let me see if I can cut some of these little lulls. out of the thing. So he ranks in the book. He ranks them as I have 1 week to live, right?
Mm-hmm. 1 day to live.
So it gets kind of moved. So 1 week to live is you set up a camp in somewhere else, you start coughing like crazy. When someone comes up to you, if they're hot, you tell them, oh, I have 1 week to live.
Yeah.
And that's the play.
That's the play.
Prep time, none. This attracts natural nurses. Retirement requirements, a hearty cough.
Yes.
And bummers, it's begging the universe to kick you in the nuts because it's.
Yeah.
Even he admits it. This one's kind of.
You're playing with fate. Because at that point, and also that the cough itself could be. Now you could say that it's not contagious, but I think the cough itself could throw.
It could throw a wrench in the plan.
Yeah, I would say that this can't go higher than B tier for me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, B. I think B is good.
Yeah.
All right. Next one is the Rumspringa.
The Rumspringa.
Rumspringa. So, do you want to explain what Rumspringa is for people who may not know?
I need to pull this one up because I actually don't remember. You explain.
So, wait, what it is or what Rumspringa is?
Both.
So Rumspringa is the I hate that I know this.
Yeah.
It's the journey that Amish people take when they decide whether they want to embrace the Amish life or do they want to go English. Basically, it's treated as a way for the Amish to show the kids look at the evils of the world, but sometimes it backfires and people kind of go.
I didn't fucking know that.
I only know this because Katie watches a show called Breaking Amish and they talk about it. So this one does have a pretty high success rate according to Barney, 80%.
Yeah.
It attracts experienced ladies, so people who like to get it on, because this is a play where you would pretend to be someone who is very inexperienced. You're trying to tell them hey, I'm repressed, basically.
Right.
It takes a long time to grow a beard because that's one of the requirements. You need to have a big, hardy Amish beard.
Yeah.
The bummers are you have to wear an ill-fitting suit, you have to hide your cell phone, and also there's no suit.
No suit indeed.
Yeah. So what do you think about this one?
I like things that make fun of religion, which I also enjoy.
So this one is, I feel like the only reason why I'm not ranking this as S is because it's a little too similar to the We're Out of Town.
Yeah.
Which I don't think it's on the list, but it's a little bit too similar because it's not an official play.
Yeah. I forget. Do you have this whole list on a personal ebook or was it a PDF?
I have.
You have the.
I have the ebook through a website.
I see.
Called Script.
Yeah.
It might be on Amazon if you have.
Yeah, it'll probably be on Amazon.
If you have the Kindle app.
Yeah, not on this computer. I don't, unfortunately. But anyway. Higher. I think it's better than the 1 week to live or the 1 day to live.
I think so too.
Yeah.
Now, would you say it's an S or an A?
A.
A.
Yeah, I think you know S when you see it.
You think so?
Yeah, or at least my top tier categories. There has to be no doubt that something is.
It's gonna work.
Yeah, that something's in there.
Okay.
Yeah.
So yeah, I feel pretty comfortable
with that at A.
With this at an A.
Yeah.
There is something funny about like you said, using that that weird ass religion.
Yeah.
So I can see that.
Yeah.
So page 56 is the next one. We have The Mannequin. Do you know what this one is?
It involves standing still like a mannequin.
It involves standing still like a mannequin. It is.
He's in a display case, right?
You're in the display case, and
you come to life.
You come to life.
Yes.
You are basically a living doll.
That's S tier for me.
You think it's S tier?
That's just so ambitious. Okay, so maybe this is where my criteria for S tier are coming out. I think the ones that truly take advantage of peak stupidity
Yes.
have to be S tier.
This is very stupid.
Yeah.
It's very like illogical, but it's really funny.
Like, is the New York Yankees one on this list?
No.
It's not a play. It's an episode. It's in season 4, where Barney and Robin go out. Right. There's a hot waitress with a lot of cleavage.
Yes.
And then Barney's very nice, and Robin's like, "Oh, I have to, reward him for his niceness. I'll hook him up with this waitress." And she convinces him that he's a New York Yankee, and he's gonna.
He's like, she asked if tomorrow at the big game you could kick a
basket for him.
Kick a goal for him.
Yeah, exactly. So like that level of dumb, I'm like, oh, that feels good. So
here's the requirements for this, right? Success rate 77%, attracts shoppers. Requirements: a good suit, patience, and strong knees, which is very true.
Yeah.
Prep time, none. You really just stand there.
You stand there.
And the bummers, you must stand still even if you have to pee, which is strong bladder.
But that's when that one hits, that one hits.
That one hits.
Yeah.
The one that I don't remember seeing is the I have a pet in Loch Ness.
Let's see.
It's weird. It's showing up on the list that we had.
I also don't remember seeing that one either.
Cool, we can scrap.
D tier, but not explained.
D tier, not explained. The kidney. So I found out that this was different than what I thought. The kidney is where you pretend that you gave your friend your kidney.
And then you're noble.
And you're noble. You are sacrificing. Right. You're giving a big sacrifice.
So chivalry is appealed to in this one. I see. Fun trivia fact: Francia, I always butcher her name. Raisa, who plays Valentina, on HIMYM, donated a kidney to her fellow childhood actress star. Who did she donate a kidney to?
Is this someone who I would know?
Yep.
So not Hilary Duff.
Not Hilary Duff. Also a show on Hulu. And Hilary Duff is warm.
A show? Selena Gomez.
Selena Gomez.
Really?
Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah.
Didn't Selena Gomez have like
lupus?
Lupus?
She has lupus, yeah. You have it. You don't I don't think you cure it. I think you have it.
Interesting.
Yeah.
All I know from lupus is that it's never been a thing in house. I think it was once.
Amazing.
But the running joke in the show was that it's never lupus.
Dear viewer, we will never do a house. We will never do a house.
Too depressing of a show.
I have never seen it. No intention on seeing it.
It's all right.
Chivalry for me, that might put me in A. I don't know. What do you think?
I think it's silly enough that I think in real life.
Yeah.
I think this could work.
That could work.
I think that's also a big factor for me too.
Could this happen?
If I think you could potentially pull this off.
Yeah.
I think that's got to give you at least an A.
That could be A tier.
So, for who it attracts, big-hearted chicks who are hopefully also big-breasted chicks. Requirements: you need a hospital bracelet and a bro.
Yeah.
You need minimal prep time, and you need to know what the kidney does, which I think is a little tough sometimes.
Yeah.
So maybe an A.
You could also fool people into letting them know that they don't think you know what
the kidney does.
What the kidney does.
Yeah, you need to be good at bullshitting for that, though.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, I think A. A is good.
A tier.
A is good. Yeah. So what is the next one?
The special delivery.
Special delivery.
Yeah. Involves a package.
Yeah. Oh, you know what it was? So this one was added after the book was released.
I see.
So that's what it was.
Yeah.
So yeah, special delivery is you show up, you say I have a package.
Right.
And that's basically the extent of it. Like, I have a package for you, and it's like my penis. I'm pretty sure that's how it is.
Straightforward. Ted is the one who asked.
Ted's the one who does it.
Yeah.
Because he has to do it over an earpiece,
right.
And he says, "I have a package for you," and that package is, "No, I'm not gonna say it. No, yeah. Barney, I'm not. Okay, Barney, fine. It's my penis."
Now, I think this has to be rewarded for its simplicity. I don't think it would.
I could not see this working on anyone.
It would work with a 0.1% of the population.
0.1, okay.
Yeah, it would work with a small segment of the population, but not a. You wouldn't bet your life that this one would work. Max B. Do we give it C?
We have not given a C yet.
I don't know if I want to give it a C because I do enjoy its simplicity.
It's so fucking funny, and watching it
is excellent.
It's so fucking funny.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think just on the funniness.
Anyone could do this one. Anyone could do the package.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You don't have to. You don't have to have a.
You don't have to be particularly convincing. You just have to. Have the package.
God damn it.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. This one's gonna be a hot take for the next one.
The Weekend at Barney's.
Yeah.
Too elaborate.
I really don't. I always thought this was stupid. To be honest with you.
It's too elaborate.
I hated how often this joke ran on. I hated how much it was foreshadowed, and then it happened, and it was played off as this thing that we were all waiting for to see. I might be harsh. I want to give this one a D tier.
Oh.
I also have no nostalgia for Weekend at Bernie's.
I don't either.
Yeah.
What episode is it where they first introduced the Weekend at Barney's?
Where it happens?
No, so I know this happens when he is passed out drunk and
right.
he has to meet Robin's dad. But Barney mentions doing the Weekend at Barney's multiple times.
I don't remember where it's first mentioned. I know that episode is in season. Well, it premiered in 2013.
It's season 9.
Season 9.
The Weekend at Barney's episode.
No, season 8.
What?
Season 8, episode 18. According to the.
Didn't it happen at the wedding?
No, but it's happened after. It happened after they because it's when he meets Robin's dad, right? Or he's supposed to meet Robin's dad.
Oh, they meet Robin's dad. They meet Robin's dad before, and they meet Robin's mom at the wedding.
Correct.
That's what it is.
Right. So it is season 8.
Okay.
I mean, I could give this a C, but I don't care for this one. Too elaborate.
Yeah, it's just too cumbersome.
Overrated reference.
Yeah, it's not a good movie.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure someone bangs a corpse.
Yeah.
It just sleazy.
Yeah.
The portrait. I feel like this one is very simple.
Yes.
It also goes by a different name. In the
show.
In the show.
Yeah.
But so this one is you have a picture of yourself, preferably an oil painting or something super.
Correct.
Fancy looking. You put it up at an art exhibit and you say hey, this is me.
Yeah.
And
I love that one.
Step 3 question mark.
I love that one's ambition.
Yeah.
I do love that one's ambition.
Yeah. It's not bad.
That one's kind of like the Lorenzo von Matterhorn.
Yeah, the Lorenzo von Matterhorn is more.
It's more elaborate.
More elaborate.
Right.
Well, we'll discuss it. It's on there.
But I think that this means I would have to put it below Lorenzo von Matterhorn. But I really like it.
You like it?
I really like it.
Would you be okay with this being at a B?
I'd be okay with it being at a B.
I think so too.
Yeah.
It's low effort, but not lazy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But also, if you have access to the painting and access to the gallery, that could work. Maybe.
Enough to put it at an A?
We'll keep it B. Yeah.
All right, the next one. The two can play at that game.
I love the two can
play at that game.
I love the execution of the two can play at that game.
I love how they show it in the show.
Yeah. Yeah.
But doesn't Barney say in the show that that one is risky?
Yes, and he messes up the first time. But then he just goes across the hall. That's what's nice about the
Does he? I don't remember that one.
That's what's nice about the two can play at that game is you can just pick up and move along. Like another one that I'm not sure is in our list. Do we have the he's not coming in our list?
That, of course that is.
All right, so I think the two can play that game is solid. It's an inferior version to the he's not coming, but I really love he's not coming.
I love he's not coming, but I feel like that's different though, right? Because he's not coming is like you have someone who's waiting for someone. You are not making them think that they're cheating on you.
But at least how both were presented to us, it is one that you can just like try. You say the line, and then it doesn't work, and you can just move on within seconds to the next one.
With the he's not coming,
and with the two can play that game.
No, that one takes more work.
But he goes across the hall and he does it again.
You sure?
Yeah.
I don't remember that.
Yeah.
But because it's a whole thing of like you gotta tell a story.
Right.
Where the he's not coming is just
he's not coming.
He's not coming.
Yeah.
3 words.
Yep. But he does go across the hall and try it on some other lady. Yeah.
I would still say S tier probably.
For which one?
For the two can play that game.
Oh.
Or A.
I'd put it at A, and then I would say he's not coming as S.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Trojan lesbian.
This one's gonna be trouble.
Trouble in the moral.
This one, if you ever watch any sort of like essay on how the show is problematic, this one comes up a lot.
How does that impact with him being a member of the LGBTQ community?
Oh, Neil Patrick Harris?
Yeah.
I think that has some impact, but marginal. I mean, it's the show writers who are coming up with this, not necessarily him.
So I was thinking about that the other day because there are a few jokes in the show that I was like, these are jokes at the expense of
gay people.
Yeah. And I'm like, I wonder if
trans people.
And trans people.
Yeah.
Like, I wonder if there was some sort of conversation with him because he's been very open about.
Yeah, I don't know, and I'm not going to assume. I'm not going to assume to know.
So we do have to give him some credit.
Yeah.
The Trojan lesbians success rate less than 1%.
Yeah.
Attracts lesbians and experimental chicks. Requirements luck.
Yeah.
Prep time 45 minutes. Interesting. Bummers adjusting to discrimination.
Interesting. I gotta rank this one though, not just, but I just feel like A. So this is I'm gonna pick up a lesbian one, right? Where
Ted has to go to to whatchamacallit.
Yeah.
Stellas.
Right.
And he's like, tonight, guys, I'm doing it tonight. Tonight, I'm picking up a lesbian.
Yeah. I see that this one could not work. I don't think this one could work.
You don't think so?
No.
I don't think so either.
Yeah.
It's a funny gag
to see. Yes.
But as far as a play, I also don't see this working.
Yeah. D. Yeah.
Can't all be winners.
Yeah.
The 1 week to live is the same as the 1 day to live.
What did we give that one?
We gave it a B.
Okay.
I think it's the same.
Same.
I would even just substitute one for the other, honestly.
Yeah.
There's the big one.
A classic.
I think this is the biggest one.
This is the biggest problematic one?
No, this is the biggest
this is the biggest
bombastic it is. Bold play.
And not a Barney Stinson original.
No, not a Barney original. Does it lose points for that?
No.
I don't think so.
No. I love this episode.
It's a fantastic episode.
Yeah. I love his exit in the episode.
Have we said what it is?
This is the naked man. This is the naked man. I love how he gets the Superman monologue from Ted at the episode, and then he walks away into the night with his trench coat floating in the wind, and he's eating his
hot dog, right?
Hot dog or whatever it is. Yeah. 2 out of 3 times. This one's honest.
It's very honest,
as Ted says, but the 2 out of the 3 even makes it more honest. Yeah.
He guarantees it.
Yeah.
I think the Naked Man, absolutely. It's gotta
go S. Yeah, S for Naked Man.
How is it? Is the Naked Man not on here? I thought it was.
In the playbook?
In the playbook, I thought it was.
Interesting. Well, I gotta refresh because did you move it to S?
There it is.
Okay.
Naked Man.
Yeah. The duffel bag.
And I like how this is success rate 66.666666 repeating percent.
2 out of 3 times.
Attracts all types, including women, including men. Requirements: balls, metaphorically and anatomically speaking. Prep time: couple hours. You got to determine if this is a relationship that's going to to be worth it. Bummers: 33.33%. I like this a lot.
I like this one too.
I love this. I don't think this needs any further.
No.
The duffel bag is not one that a lot of people consider. But it is an official play.
It's in the airport, right?
It's the one that we see in episode 4. Maybe 4 or 5.
We are international businessmen.
We do see it as a side gag. Barney pulling himself out of a duffel bag. What do you think about this one?
I enjoy the international. Oh, I forgot you don't like this episode.
I don't love it. I don't hate it.
I like the internet. I like the part of it that where you have to claim to be international businessmen.
This is not part of that.
Oh, I see.
The duffel bag is just you put yourself in the duffel bag.
Okay. B. Yeah.
Let me double check.
Is it believable? No. Is it?
Oh no, you're right. Well, kind of. So, all right, duffel bag. Foreign chicks, large duffel bag, 45 seconds, may wind up in some dude's trunk. So you take a duffel bag to the airport, you hang around the international flight's baggage carousel, and then you drop your bag, and then you try to pick someone up there. So you don't have to claim you're an international businessman. You just have to be at the airport.
Correct.
Does that lower it from B to C to you?
I mean, I like it. I laugh. Is it necessarily believable?
No.
But it's a good one.
So what do you think? B?
B.
This is another S tier for me. Call Barney Stinson.
Yes. CBS.
Good
product placement.
Good product placement. It leads us to what was my ringtone for about 2.5 years.
Oh yeah.
The driving people insane. I love that this is where we get Teddy Westside speaking.
Yes.
And then Barney goes, I'm stealing that. Barney Westside speaking. I love it.
I love it too.
I love it.
Quantity you can backfire with too much quantity.
Yes. Is that on there?
I don't know. I don't know if they say that specifically, but that is what happens in the episode. Too many hoes in different area codes.
Too many hoes.
Yeah.
So this one is on the official playbook.
Yeah.
The next one,
the time
traveler.
I enjoy the time traveler.
So elaborate.
But if it hits, it hits.
If it hit, yeah. I suppose.
Yeah.
But this is like borderline Mrs. Stin's fire level.
Yeah.
Like it takes so long to put on the makeup.
Correct.
This is a very low success rate.
Yeah, and then you have to change pretty fast. I think the show doesn't do that part. The suspension of disbelief in the show is not enough to cover the fact that you have to get rid of all the old person makeup.
I mean, that's just usually ripping things off.
Yeah, you could have some drawn on lines. But yes, it takes a lot of setup. But it's cool that you have to get the friends to coordinate.
Yes. Yeah, that's true. She's gonna slap him in 5 seconds.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay. Where would you rank this?
I have to go minimum A.
Minimum A.
I want to do S for memorability.
You know what? I can be persuaded for S. The scuba diver.
There's just the scuba diver, right? And it
just
builds the curiosity.
Builds curiosity. It might make a friend kind of be like, oh, he's not that bad.
Yes.
It seemed more like a plot device.
This one takes vulnerability, does it not?
Yes.
I don't know, A tier?
Hey,
Yeah.
there's yours, the Lorenzo von Matterhorn.
Yes. So where did we put the portrait?
So the portrait, we put it at B because it's just kind of like lower effort. It's a lower effort Lorenzo von Matterhorn.
So do we agree that Lorenzo von Matterhorn is better than the portrait?
Yes.
Now, how much better?
That's a good question.
Yeah. What does your instinct say? A or S?
I think back then, this would be harder to pull off in the sense of like you need to know how to build a website, whereas now that's just like $5 a month through whatchamacallit.
I forget you had to build multiple websites, right? Not just
you had to build like a website. You had to build some like fake articles.
Yeah.
But like all of that stuff you can make on a website
on the
internet now. So I feel like it's easier to pull. Yeah. It still takes the time and the effort.
Right.
I think it could work.
I do think it could work. I actually do. I do think there might be individual circumstances where it could work.
S
tier.
S tier. I don't like this one.
Nope.
Mrs. Stinsfire.
Yeah, I don't care for it either.
I fucking hate that movie.
Yeah.
So the nostalgia for it is about as bad as Weekend at Barney's for me.
D tier.
D tier. The Ted Mosby one is pretty solid.
Yeah.
That was... It's funny on so many levels.
Right. That is just where he says, "I think I'm in love with you." Right?
No, this is the "I got left at the altar."
Oh yes. Yes. And this is distinct from Ted Mosby Architect, right? Is that on our list?
That's not a play.
Okay.
That's not an official play.
Gotcha.
But this is just like My Wife Left Me at the Altar. Yeah. You're walking around with a ring.
Yeah. Appeals to pity.
Appeals to pity. Vulnerability, but not your own vulnerability.
Right.
A little deceitful, but I think overall, like...
Yeah. So A or S. That's the question.
I almost kind of want to rank it an S, just because it's so mean-spirited towards Ted.
Right, but funny.
But I think he tries it.
Yes.
Ted tries it.
I think so,
and
too.
he's like, guys, it works.
Yeah, I think so, too.
This one is also problematic.
The Don't Drink That.
The Don't Drink That.
Pretending someone roofied.
Pretending that somebody put something in your drink.
Yeah. And
you're saving them from drinking it.
Yeah, that's easy.
And then potentially blaming someone because he pins it on Ted.
Yeah, no, that actually that would like elicit fear.
Yeah.
Yeah, D tier.
D tier.
Okay. Yeah.
We have morals. He's not coming.
S tier. So simple.
The only problem with this is you got to find a place.
The Empire State Building.
Well, yes, but if you're not in New York,
the John Hancock Center.
You think so?
Which is not open air. I don't think it has an open air deck. Mm-mm. No.
But I mean,
but yes, you got to find a place.
And also, this works both ways.
Yeah, but
he's not coming. She's not coming.
Yeah, but still, so simple.
Yeah. So simple. The next one I don't love. My penis grants wishes.
Yeah. I don't love that either.
I would say the only reason why I like it is because it's so stupid.
Yeah.
That I almost don't want to put it at D.
Yes.
I would maybe say C.
I think
this could be our sole C.
This is our first C tier.
Our first C tier.
Yeah.
The Cheap Trick. Pretending to be the bass player for Cheap Trick. This could work in the sense that who the fuck knows what these people look like.
So here's the thing: when he does it, I think he does dress up as like an 80s.
He does.
Yes. It's an inferior version of the New York Yankees one to me, just because I think Cheap Trick has to be, I don't know, more cartoony than the Yankee one. Also, I like Cheap Trick. I am surprised how many people I know do not like Cheap Trick.
Really?
Yes. When I tell people that I saw Cheap Trick at Riot Fest, right before Weezer. It was 2014. Weezer played the whole Blue album. Cheap Trick played the whole of something. I don't remember what, but they were back to back. I view that experience as amazing. I tell this to people, and they're like, meh, and it's because of Cheap Trick. And I'm like, huh.
Cheap Trick they got good songs.
I like Cheap Trick. The world does not. Not as much as I do.
People are dumb.
Which I only moderately like Cheap Trick. So
I mean, Cheap Trick has, solid bops.
Yeah.
They're a bop band.
It's got some hits.
Yeah.
B.
B?
B.
Huh. I thought you were going for lower with some of your comments.
You give that an A. B.
Oh, B. Yeah. Here's the classic.
The SNES.
The SNES.
I love this one.
You love it?
Yeah, Secret NASA. I mean, it's stupid.
It's stupid.
But it's once again, it's I love the ones that appeal to peak stupid. Like you would have to be super dumb.
How?
This one doesn't take a lot of work.
It takes zero work.
Yeah.
Where's your mission to this moon?
Yeah.
This is one of those where you're like, you feel almost a little sleazy, but taking advantage of someone who's so fucking dumb.
Yeah,
but at the same time, it's so funny.
It is so funny. I know where I want to put it. Where do you want to put it?
I would say at least an A. At least an A. Am I willing to put it at an S?
I am. But grade inflation is a problem.
Well, all right. So here's how we can do this.
This is our last one.
This is our last one.
Yeah.
Are we comfortable with all of these being an S tier?
Yes.
The Mannequin, the Naked Man, the Call Barney Stinson, Time Traveler, Lorenzo von Matterhorn, Ted Mosby. He's not coming in this NASA.
Yeah, I'm comfortable with all of them.
Yeah, I don't think there's any of the other ones that I'd be like.
Yeah. He's the master.
He is.
Yeah. So let's
not all of them are bangers.
Not all of them are bangers. Let's go from worst to best. So D, we've got I have a pet at Loch Ness. The Weekend at Barney's, The Trojan Lesbian, The Mrs. Sends Fire, The Don't Drink That.
So the Don't Drink That, there's something about it that, like, if we were not considering the sleaziness of it,
yeah, I
would argue maybe could move up.
So here, to me, it's not that it's sleazy. It's that do you remember in Game of Thrones after the episode where like Ramsay Bolton rapes Sansa?
Sure.
Is it that episode? And then she has sex with somebody else. Someone has sex with somebody soon after being raped, but it's not Sansa. It's another character. Anyway, people made a good point. They're like, "Oh, if you've just been raped, you're not gonna go jump into somebody's arms right away, right?" I think if you've just been like almost roofied, then despite their misconceptions that were common at this time period, I don't think you would jump into somebody's arms.
Yeah, I don't know, because this one kind of played off of the chivalry.
True.
Which we talked about in the
True.
Whatever one it was.
True. Where if I wasn't here talking, where would you put it?
I hope I put it at a C.
C. All right. So I'm saying D. You're saying C.
I don't know.
Yeah. Well, that one's C.
That's fine. Yeah. It'll say a D.
Yeah.
C is my penis grants wishes, just out of pure stupidity.
Yeah.
B.
I have 1 Day to Live,
which is the same as 1 Week to Live.
Yep. Special Delivery.
That was good.
Yeah.
That one's good.
The
Portrait.
1 Week to Live. The Duffel Bag.
The Cheap Trick.
A is the Rumspringa. The Kidney. The Two Can Play at That Game. The Scuba Diver, and then S. The Mannequin.
The Mannequin's good.
The Naked Man. The Call Barney Stinson. The Time Traveler. The Lorenzo von Matterhorn. The Ted Mosby. The He's Not Coming, and the SNASA. Excellent. Yeah. Democracy worked?
Yeah. I feel like this was a solid one. Okay. We are definitely going to cut the shit out of this episode because we had a lot of dead air.
That's fine.
And I'll work on this one. It's a long one.
We have been recording up till 3 o'clock.
Is it
probably
3
like 11? Takes a little while to get started, but yeah.
Yeah. Fine.
Yes.
All right. Well, that's our list.
That's our list. And that's season 5?
That is season 5.
Yeah.
So we'll be back with season 6 soon.
Yes.
I think, I didn't love season 5. It was, it was higher on my list.
Yeah.
I don't know that it'll move.
It won't be my number 1.
No.
But it might be in my
Top 5.
See. Well, top 5 is half the show. So it might be in my top 3. Well, season 6 is my number 3. So we'll see.
We'll see. Season 6 is big.
Season 6 is big.
So
yeah.
Okie dokie.
In the meantime, I'm Thano.
I'm Javier. And we will be back soon.
Be back soon.
Bye.
Bye.